Welcome everyone to the Fandom Effect podcast, a safe point during your day to hear and talk about anime, video games, comics, MMA, and a lot more. This podcast started as a way to show everyone to never be afraid to try something new, because at the end of the day, you never know what kind of impact a new idea or a new interest is going to have on you until you try. So welcome everyone to the Fandom Effect, and let's begin.
Hey, this is Chuck the Fuck, and you are here to listen to episode 4 of the Fandom Effect.
We are here with our amazing, awesome guest this week, Mr. Chuck. How is it going, sir?
Oh, it's going. Just trying to keep from killing myself right now.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening right now to episode 4, yes, still quarantine, so you can kind of
quarantine right now.
yeah, but not according to some people. Won't get into that. Definitely not going to get into that. We are, so you can, if you look at the frequency of how I've been posting things, you can kind of see like, oh, it's been every 2 weeks, and you can kind of do the easy math and go, well, if he's on 4 and he's been doing it every 2 weeks, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, that's 8 weeks, yes. So whenever you're listening to this, if you're listening to it now, then you understand our pain. If you're listening to this like in December, you're like, oh man, that quarantine. Or if you're listening to this in 30 years and the world's been taken over by Martians, you're like, stupid humans, and then in which case, hi, our new evil overlords.
The funny thing about December is that there's a chance we might still be quarantined then.
Yeah,
how fucked would that be?
Yeah, here in Wisconsin, ours got extended already until end of May, and then we don't know after that. But so
we're up to May 15th right now, and Gretchen Whitmer apparently wants to extend it even further than that, and the fucking Republicans in our state are like protesting and throwing fits and shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things, but I'm gonna refrain from commenting on this platform on certain things. But yeah, regardless, it's still a shitty situation, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, for a multitude of reasons. It's just never the best situation that we're sitting in right now for anything, but we're gonna have some fun here. We have an awesome guest this week, everybody, so we're kind of just gonna jump right into it, but first, obviously, Chuck, appreciate you taking the time to do it. I know we've known each other for a very, very long time here.
Staying here, what, 16 years?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're approaching 16 years, which is pretty freaking crazy. Yeah. But obviously not the only reason that you're on. We got some good topics for you guys this week. As everyone knows on the Fandom Effect, if this is your first time, if this is the episode that you've chosen to make your first playthrough, appreciate you coming on board, and to kind of give you a quick rundown of what we're doing here. Fandom Effect, the goal is to give you guys a fun platform, of course, each and every week, but to also give you guys a showcase to play with your own skills, showcase your own things, but at the same time learn from other people who perhaps have done things similar, kind of give you a leg up on pursuing your own dreams, while of course drawing attention to the amazing guests that we have each and every episode. And of course, I remembered this time. For those of you who have listened, you probably remember that I've routinely forgotten to mention this at the beginning of the podcast. But if you stick to the end of the podcast, you will be welcome with the Fandom Tip of the episode. Name is still being workshopped. I know that's pretty bad, but we will have a better name. But it's not bad. That's not bad. We've been trying to workshop a better name here, but. So we have a lot of things that we're gonna be covering today, but I kind of want to start with one of the key reasons that I wanted to have you on as a guest is kind of your culinary background. So obviously I think it's blown up more, with people kind of going into culinary school. I know besides yourself, I had a couple cousins that actually went into various aspects of culinary school. Some did it like for, I don't know, is it called something different if they do just like desserts and pastries, or is that just...
It's basically pastry arts, essentially. Baking, pastry arts. Yeah, depending on what school you go to, they might have a full degree, or like Macomb, it was just like a certification. Like the whole pastry arts thing is just like a side thing for graduation.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, so because there's one that did their key thing, then we had some other ones that did like specific desserts and did stuff like that they were more specifically doing. with everything.
Yeah.
But that makes sense, though. You had, I know you kind of didn't start off with that. I know you kind of had your different path. Do you mind kind of walking me through, like, what led to culinary as the goal? Like, was that always a dream, or, is that something that you kind of just stumbled into?
Well, me personally, it was always my dream. My parents on the other hand were like, fuck that. No, you're not going to go into culinary arts. Like, if it was my choice, I would have gone right out of high school, man. I went to Central just to kiss some asses so I could go to a party school.
We were definitely that.
Yeah. Well, my mom went to Central. That's one of the reasons why it was encouraged that I went there.
So when you say that you were kind of like told, like, no, you're not going to the culinary field, like, what was the reason for not wanting you to go into it?
Well, part of it's the fact that, like, you don't make shit for money unless, like, you like own your own business or you somehow gotten yourself like a nice, like, executive chef position.
And
but
how long, like, is getting into a position like that normal, or
like, I've known people who have gotten jobs like that, like, right off the rip. A lot of it has to do with, like, who you know and whose ass you're willing to kiss, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
I gotcha. Is that something that you're looking to go into, or, like, what's kind of your looking path when it comes to that field?
Where I want to end up being?
Yeah.
I kind of want to just be on my own with my own business, but part of the problem is, like, I've spent 31, almost 13 years in this field now, just basically bending over backwards to please people just to get a decent job, and there's just so many people in the industry that it's easy for like to get passed over a lot by people that aren't even worthy of having a position just because they kiss someone else's butt more than you do. But I'm thinking, with this quarantine, it might change things up a little bit. It might, end up with more people in charge that actually care about what they're doing, as opposed to, just like making money, cutting corners to make money for that boss.
Right. So, kind of, are you thinking that perhaps with the quarantine forcing so many businesses to kind of do like a deeper reflection, that it's going to force them to think more proactively?
Yeah, because, like, I feel like this industry just kind of, like, it's been stagnant for a while. I mean, like, yeah, you always hear things about, like, oh, this popular chef's doing this and this popular chef's doing that, but, like, overall, like, the whole industry's just been oversaturated with a bunch of people just mainly just care about making money, and it's all because the industry's been glamorized for the last 4 decades or so.
So, like the cooking shows, like Guy Fieri, Gordon Ramsay, people like that.
Even going back before that, man. Like before you had like back to like Emerald and those types of guys. Like, even back in the '80s and stuff, it was just everybody wanted to work in the industry because, like, oh, you go party and do coke and make food and stuff and make money. But now it's like there's a freaking crappy restaurant in every corner. Now half of them aren't even able to reopen now.
Right, and so that kind of brings up another question, another kind of, I guess you wouldn't call it a question, but a insight / combined with a question. For people out there, and maybe whether it's not them curious at the culinary field, perhaps that they're curious about owning a restaurant or something like that. So with your experience on that kind of thing, for an average restaurant, like, someone in kind of in an average space, they're not pulling in, like, obviously, like, an insane amount of people, like, just kind of an average place. Is it that fluid between month to month? Like, if like, yes, you're making profit, but if you didn't make profit for 3 months, like, doors are shut.
Oh yeah, man, because, like, the overhead in a restaurant is so high, especially if you have a liquor license. It's expensive to get a liquor license and be able to cover all those costs. It's nuts these days. And a lot of it's like everybody's just trying to, like, oh, we need to make this look so fancy for our guests and all that. And it ends up in the end, people that are actually driving, like, like making the food and all that stuff, they end up getting screwed over in that because, like, people, oh, we need this money for the business, and, like, oh, you guys don't need to be paid that much money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's. I think it's kind of a point, like you were saying earlier, with, like, the industry kind of being oversaturated with certain things, and TV shows and that glamorizing, is that people now. I think also on the flip side, obviously you can speak more to this, but in addition to the actual industry itself being over glamorized with the people going into it, and the oversaturation that way, I think you can also see the flip side of it, and the customers now seeing these TV shows like, Hell's Kitchen, and these fancy things that these chefs do, and the atmosphere and the look, and they go to, when they consider a place like, oh, this is a higher end place, obviously that's all over the spectrum depending on the person, but yeah. I think a lot of times people are now going to what they consider an upper scale restaurant, anticipating that style of cooking and that style of preparation, and when they don't get it, they're like, oh, well, these people don't know what they're doing. And
oh my gosh, I've heard people bitch about like the most menial things about their food. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man! Like, if it's that big of a deal, just fucking cook it at home by yourself. Like you said, like I said, like it's oversaturated to the point like where people are willing to take the shittier employees because they can pay them less and stick them in the kitchen, and they expect them to like make that type of food, and then when the food doesn't come out as good as you expected, and you're like, oh, what the hell happened? Like, it's because you fucking cut in corners, you jackass.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I cooked for a very, very small period of time, so I don't know I don't know as nearly as much as you do when it comes to like actually seeing the ways people are doing certain things, like actually inside the industry. And I know, so I know you've kind of been all over the place, but for my listeners who are kind of curious as to your personal journey in culinary, can you kind of speak to what your path was going into culinary school, like getting out of it, and then like how do you? I guess it's a 2-part question. So your journey into the field in itself, like as an overview, and then when you first graduated from culinary school, is it typical for a culinary school to help you find a job, or if it's not, how do you go about looking for something in that field?
Well, obviously I'll start with my background, which is long and painful in some places. Well, let's see. I only just graduated from culinary school 2 years ago. Like I said, I've been in the field for almost 13 years. So I spent a good 8 or 9 years just working, bouncing between jobs. I've worked at sports bars, golf courses, fine dining, fast casual Mexican restaurants, smokehouses. Like, I've pretty much worked almost every type of restaurant you can think of. And part of that reason is like I'm one person that's a big proponent that like you're always, if you want to be successful in what you do, you always want to keep learning. What better way to do that than go to different types of businesses and work at them? But also because most of those places suck eventually and end up taking advantage of me. I'm like, screw you, I'm going to go to this other place. Like, just like I said, there's so many places you can go that if you can't fit in a kitchen, you just go down the street. Someone else is looking for someone. And then I finally ended up going to culinary school. And at that time, I don't know. I kind of, problem with culinary school these days is, like I said, it's over glamorized. So you go there, you learn a lot. Like, I've learned a lot in culinary school, but like if you take that out into the field, it's not applicable like that, because you need to have like a certain type of work ethic to work in like major kitchens these days. Like, you can't go from school to working in a kitchen. Like, you work in a fucking kitchen.
Yeah.
It's rough sometimes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Going in with zero experience is very rough.
Think of it in this manner. Like, I don't know if I should say specific names, but you worked with this person, and he was going to culinary school when we were at Sycamore Hills, and he was probably one of the most garbage people in that kitchen.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And because he was in culinary school, he thought like he was king shit. But yeah, he actually wasn't. I mean, he's gotten his act together since then, but like, that's the problem. Like, a lot of people go to culinary school and they expect that, like, just like most millennials these days. I mean, you and I kind of fall on the back end of that spectrum, but I do not consider myself a millennial. They all think because they got like a little accomplishment, everybody should kiss their ass because they're special now. But the problem is, like, there's no work ethic in that point, and then they end up failing, and it's just a waste of money for them.
Right, which I know we still have a second part of your question, but
yeah,
you brought up a couple of good points I just wanted to kind of dive into a little bit. When it comes to the oversaturation aspect, do you think that it's led to teachers in culinary school perhaps like taking it too easy on people because they need the numbers?
I think in some aspects possibly, but the problem is, like, they can only do so much. Like at Macomb, where I graduated from, like we worked on a line there, but it wasn't like a restaurant line. Like we did like lunches or dinners or whatever, and you basically have a maximum of like 40, 50 people come in. You have a class of like 20 people working in a kitchen to feed those 50 people. Like it's not rocket science. It's very easy as long as like you don't have a jackass run a certain station. Like when you know what you're making, it's very easy to bust the stuff out really easily. Like you and I could bust out 50 orders. Like if you tell me what 50 people are going to order like 4 hours ahead of time, we can bust that out. Like it's nothing.
Oh yeah.
It's because they don't get that like actual hands-on restaurant experience that they kind of it falls short, and you can't replicate that in a school kitchen unless like you actually run a full-on restaurant, which is expensive, like I said.
Right, and yeah. I think that's, and we brought up an earlier point. I wanted to jump back to really quick on kind of the entry fee. So if obviously very low rate of pay, I was in the industry myself for a little bit, so I know obviously, and we've talked numerous times, and
we were definitely in a place that cheap as fuck.
Yeah, and
that's one of the reasons why I left when I did.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I did some research on like average pay and stuff, and with such a low, I guess a higher barrier to entry. So even though the market is like you said oversaturated, you have still what I guess we would consider a higher barrier to entry with lower pay and things like that. So what to you is like the key thing that someone needs to make sure that they have, besides knowing that going into it? What would you say is like something that you need to make sure you have as a person going into this field to make sure that you can kind of get yourself through that hump?
Well, first of all, like to be successful in this industry, you have to have you gotta be cut from like certain type of grit. Like it's rough. Even if you aren't one of the people that gets by like doing drugs, drinking, partying, like in the off hours that you have when you're not in the kitchen. Like the hours are long, they're stressful. I mean, there's certain types of kitchens that like die down certain times of year. Like obviously when you're at the golf course, we'd be busy as hell in the summer, but then winter came along and we're like scraping by for hours. You kind of got to prepare. I mean, there are people that can scrape by on barely anything, but also like if you really want to be successful, you got to like use your head. You can't just like expect good things to come without the hard work.
Right. So
it's a lot of hard work.
Well, yeah, no, it definitely is. Do you think it's a combination of making sure you put in your dues and then just having the passion to get yourself to that next level?
Oh yeah, and like even if you don't want I know people that are content just working online as long as if you have a decent line cook job, like you can work average 45, 50 hours a week all year round as long as you have the business, and most people get by on that. You get by on that type of business. Like at what do they say is like about livable wages these days? Like $15 an hour.
I know for a few states minimum wage is 15. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about minimum wage, but like that was always the argument with like McDonald's workers in Michigan. They're saying like in order to be able to live on what they make, they want like $15 an hour because they said that was like the livable wage. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
Yeah, which I think is bullshit for McDonald's. You should get paid barely minimum wage, and that's it. It should be a high school, college kid's job. That's it. I could run a McDonald's kitchen by myself. Fucking obnoxious to go in there and see like 7 people running like 2 stations.
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying, like if you make like $14-$50 an hour in a decent line cook job, 45, 50 hours a week, that's not bad. But like if you went to culinary school, that costs money. If you went to regular college, like I did, that costs money. Like you're not gonna be able to pay your student loans off with that type of money, which sucks. Like you have to prepare to have to like, eat shit for a while in order to get through in this industry.
Right.
And even then, like if you get put in charge of the kitchen, there's a good chance you'll fail at that job, and you end up going back to being a line cook.
Right.
And it's not always your fault. Like it's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows, and you can see why people end up drinking a lot, doing lots of drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with such like different barriers to kind of getting everything going, and kind of keeping the engine running, inside. So, in your opinion, would you say? So let's say someone gets in there and they're chugging along, they're trying to pay their dues, so to speak. But like you said, like due to high overturn, they could be thrust into a higher role that they weren't prepared for yet. So do you? I guess would you recommend to someone who is in that situation to learn what it would take to run a kitchen, even if you're not running it?
Yeah, definitely, because you might get a chance in a job where you might not get put in like a salary position, but like if you could show that you can do something like take inventory or like something like the manager normally does, you could take that burden off of them. Guess what? You just made yourself a few extra hours, because I know for a fact most managers don't want to do all that paperwork shit.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So does culinary, which that actually brings up a really good question. Does culinary school go over that, like how to take inventory, stuff like
whole
that?
sections on cost control, like how to do supervising like type roles. Like I had class on just like catering, and basically told you like what like broke down every step of the process. Like if you wanted to like have a catering business, which works for banquets, it helps like even for restaurants. Like it kind of helps prepare you for that type of scenario. It's just got rearrange everything a little bit. That's all.
Right. So would you, in your opinion, since obviously you did culinary school and I know you've also done some stuff with business on the side, but let's say someone hadn't had that background, they just were just going to culinary school. Do you think an average culinary school gives you enough of the business skills needed to either open up a restaurant, run a kitchen, whatever that higher position would be, or would you recommend to someone like go to culinary school, but at the same time take an online class on basic accounting or something like that? Like,
well, they don't go in depth with like accounting, like, which is a good skill to have anyways, but it does the basics. Like the main things are geared just towards culinary, but like if you want to run all the accounting for your business, you're going to want to be a little bit more in depth than just the basic cost control class they give you.
okay,
Like
so if someone,
yeah,
let's say, like you said, has that higher drive, has that higher passion, and can afford or maybe perhaps has the ability to take some sort of class to teach them another skill, whether it's high level accounting, I don't know if there's such a thing as advanced inventory control or not, but something, but something.
I'd recommend it. And then, like, I myself, as I have a business degree, I mean, I just haven't implemented it yet. And that alone, like, I had to take marketing classes, which you're well versed in, regular business classes, accounting classes. Like, I learned a lot just from my business degree that I didn't necessarily learn from culinary, but like there are things that like cross over in both. One was geared just like more broad in business, and the other one only dabbled in business because it's part of its field.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I kind of get what you're saying. So it's yeah. So some of it. I mean, I don't know if this is changes. Does every culinary school follow like a similar platform or?
It's varies. Like the cooking aspect, specifically they follow like basic French cooking, which is like the standard. Like even how kitchens are set up are still based off of the French like early brigade systems, which I don't know if you know what that is. Like each they've like kind of streamlined it now. Like we have what the main stations are like. We usually have like a grill, fryer, flat top. You have the salad station. The French brigade system that like went more in depth. Like you had someone that would specifically do the sauces, and one person that would specifically do like all the charcuterie, like all the meat curing and drying and all that type of stuff. Like it went more in depth. Now they've kind of like combined all those into less roles.
Okay.
And it's more so they can save money.
Okay, and I'm gonna stay on topic, but also not stay on topic.
Yeah.
So you brought up like different positions and kind of that French style. So to expunge so many different movies out there that have those interactions between like head chefs and sous chefs,
They
and
still have those. Like if you go outside the U.S., a lot of places really have those. And if you go to French Laundry, that's like where like a lot of really aspiring chefs go because they want to like run like a popular restaurant. Like they still do those types of kitchens. It's just you don't see them as often anymore. Like now you have a lot more like corporate type kitchens like Applebee's or Ruby Tuesdays, like where you have specific spots and you don't learn anything outside of what you need to know in that spot in that kitchen. Whereas like if you go to another place that's fancier, working the brigade style kitchen, you will know everything about sauces, not just what is on the menu for that night.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does. And that, would you say that for a younger chef that working in certain restaurants like that, like an Applebee's or Ruby Tuesdays, could it be almost a hindrance, like to their?
Oh yes, it is. It is a hindrance. Like if you want to ascend past being a line cook, you don't want to settle for working like a corporate type restaurant unless you're willing to kiss people's asses and be a little looser on your morals in the kitchen. Not like in the wrong way. I mean like having a little integrity with your food and stuff. Because I refuse to work in those types of kitchens because it's fucking blasphemous. I worked at Ruby Tuesdays for 4 months. I will never step foot in a kitchen like that again.
Yeah, and it's just because the way you said it was very interesting, and I think for listeners now and listeners in the future that are thinking of culinary and see this episode and they see that it's not. I mean, obviously I have some very other fun topics for us to talk about. But see that, oh, okay, this episode has a chef on it. Oh, cool. I'm interested in that kind of feel. And they're listening to this and they're like, they're kind of like, oh man, like, I don't know if I can work in a fancy restaurant. Like if someone is working in one or the other, is there a difference to different preparation? Like, should you go into it expecting similar learning experiences, or is it going to be like a drastically different experience depending on what area of kind of that line you go into?
Like, what do you mean? Like, if you worked in a corporate type restaurant, or
right? So, like, if you have two people and they're both in culinary school, and one goes to like a corporate style restaurant, and one goes to like a more fine dining restaurant, and then they switch, like, and they both swap. It's, let's say, work in each other restaurant. Who, like, in your opinion, like, is it easier to work in an atmosphere like the fine dining where you learn everything and then scale down, or is it easier to start off somewhere knowing that won't be your whole future, learn something, and then scale your way up?
Well, one kind of positive thing, if you work in like a corporate type restaurant, like there's almost a guarantee that you're gonna be pretty steadily busy. And like when I was at Ruby Tuesdays, there were nights that were just like god awful. Like you had 5 people like working like the grill, the setups, like that type of area. Like not the cold salads and soup side, but like where like most of this stuff's getting done. And half the time nobody knew what the fuck was going on, because like you got like tickets that you can't even see. Like the guy and the girls basically have some burgers and chicken all over the place. It's just like a madhouse. But it kind of helps you like be able to, very high pressure situation. And like if shit starts to go wrong, like you can crumble very, very easily. And like if you work at a fine dining place, like yeah, some of them do get busy, but like I've also worked at like Andiamo's, which is like a place in Michigan that's kind of like upscale-ish. And like even on the busiest nights there, it was a cakewalk, because like they had set procedure and it almost made it easy to get through. I mean, like you get busy and like you have your moments where you can get stressful, but it's not like when I was at Ruby Tuesdays where like Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights were just like you didn't want to fucking think about working those nights. Most of the time, half the people on that line were probably high off their ass because they didn't want to deal with it.
Obviously, people are going to kind of take their own path and kind of see what whatever's best for them. But it seemed, just from my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the very least, even though working in a certain corporate type of kitchen might not be the end-all be-all culinary dream, learning that speed at least would be like a somewhat useful skill when you go into a higher environment.
Yeah, it kind of that determination I'm talking about is kind of for developing that it helps you develop like a thick skin so you can handle the pressure. And like even at 13 years in, like there are times where I might have a moment where I got like fucking leave me alone for a few minutes. I need to collect myself.
And on the message of collecting yourself, I have one question that I'm going to save for you for the end. kind of on your culinary field, and we're gonna I'll do a little bit of a segue transition here into kind of some different topics. We'll give somebody some broad views. I obviously I know. Like every guest on the Fandom Effect, you're not just one thing. We have lots of different things that define the fandom of who we are, and I know yours is vastly all over the spectrum. You've done a lot of different things. One key thing, and I know this is specific because I've known you for so long, that we've had numerous discussions on, is the future and what to do in a zombie apocalypse. So there's multiple aspects of this to go over, but first one is. For you, like I have my own. I'll give my answer after. But what for you when you're watching a zombie movie? Do you prefer like first of all, what is your favorite zombie movie? And then do you prefer the slow zombies or the fast ones in a movie?
Well, I'm gonna have to think about this favorite zombie movie while I answer the other part of the question. But are you saying what I would prefer? Like if we end up in a zombie apocalypse type of zombie?
No, because that's not going to be your choice.
Watching movies.
Yeah, no, in movies. I have a different question for that, but.
Well, one of my favorite zombie movies is 28 Days Later.
It's a good one.
Which, yeah, it's a big movie. Like, call them zombies or whatever, affected with rage. But it's essentially, they're kind of zombies. And, yeah, they're fast moving in that movie, but preferably I like the slow moving zombies just because, like, I see that, like, if when it's going to be able to move that fast. But that's just me being fucking nerd.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to a movie on that genre of horror, I prefer the ones where they move faster in terms of like a movie that I'm more invested in, because when it comes to the slower ones like Walking Dead or something like that, there becomes a certain point where it almost like sucks me out of the movie, because at a certain point I'm like, all right, like I get that they're attracted to sound and I get that they're attracted to smell and they can tell you're not a zombie and they're going to chase you, but dude, if you're out in the open, pick a line and just run. The thing will never catch you, and eventually you will outpace it by so much that you will probably get to somewhere that you can hide, and you're so far ahead of the thing that when it catches up to where it thinks it remembers seeing you, it's just going to be like, and it's just going to go off and do its own little zombie thing. So like whenever a guy is in the walk...
Like the fast movie zombies are more exciting. Movies, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas if you see the slow ones, like if someone gets killed by a slow moving zombie, you're like, you're a fucking idiot.
Pretty much.
It's like the same thing like when you watch slasher movies. Like, yeah, they're entertaining, but most of the time you're like, well, you kind of fucking deserve to die right there.
No, yeah, there's some movies that are just like, Jesus. Oh man, I'm trying to think of what we were watching recently that was like a zombie movie, and it was like a mother and daughter get separated, and the mother's like, she finds a couple people to team up with, and they're like, I can't remember what one of them does. They're like, they try to break in somewhere, and like one of them like shoots a gun off for fun or something, and I'm just like, you're such a fucking idiot. Like, if that was the world you live in. So everyone always likes to fantasize about like, you know, what would I do, or what would the world be in a zombie apocalypse. So let's say zombie apocalypse hits, and we're gonna make it interesting, where it's the Walking Dead style, where everyone's infected, but you just don't turn until you die. What's your plan? What are we doing here?
Oh well, I've already got that all planned out. Like, I'm moving up north back to the wilderness. I have a couple places in mind, but the main point is to get somewhere safe and secure where there's fresh water and food all around.
So I think if the zombie apocalypse happened,
far away from fucking people.
Yeah. No, yeah. Definitely that, yeah. Going to a major city, which, you know, though, if this happened, you know there'd be people whose plan in their head would be like, I'm just going to go to I'm going to go near a major city because that way I can go in and get tons of food. Yeah, you win.
Oh my God, I almost got shanked in prison because I got an argument with a fucker about that. He's like, oh, just go to the fucking ammo store and get all the guns and stuff, because we were talking about The Walking Dead, and you go to Atlanta. He's like, yeah, I just hole up there. I'm like, you're fucking retarded. Where are you going to get food from? You're just going to keep attracting more zombies if you're going to hole up in the fucking corner and shoot them all. But that's just my own personal opinion.
No, yeah, because, I mean, eventually...
He got pissed at me because, like, no matter what he said, I basically made him sound like a jackass. So, like, why would you do that? I mean, he's some guy that I was dumb enough to argue with, he'd been in prison for 10 years. Like, okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. I made you mad, sir.
You win. Which it brings up. So it's very interesting because it's like to your point, because eventually, regardless of where, if that was your plan, you were like, oh, I'm just gonna go there. Like doors aren't gonna be sturdy forever unless somehow your ammo store has like massive steel doors.
Yeah.
And then if it does have, let's say, massive steel doors where a zombie's never going to be able to break it down, which is totally possible. Let's just, well, devil's advocate, door doesn't break down. Most ammo stores that are that secure probably won't have windows. So you're not going to shoot them. You're just going to be stuck inside, and then you're going to go out for probably the first time. You're going to get food, right? First time it'll work. There'll be no zombies by the door. You'll run out. You'll get food. You'll probably shoot a couple zombies. You'll grab a bunch of food, you'll run back, you'll shoot some more, you'll run inside, you'll slam the door. Zombies are pounding on the door, they can't get in. You eat all your food, 2 weeks later you're out of food. Guess what? Guess who's still pounding at your door? The zombie.
Same zombies.
Same zombies as before. As soon as you open the door, boom, they're gonna rush in.
Like, oh, you're gonna shoot your way out. Guess what? You just brought more zombies there.
Yeah, and because if movies are remotely, I mean, they're not accurate because the zombie apocalypse has not happened, but for devil's advocates, let's say that in every zombie movie you ever watch, one of the consistent keys is that even if other zombies don't see or hear something, if they see other zombies trying to get at something, they do it too.
Yeah, it's just like a hive mind. Like, oh, this one was distracted over here somewhere. I'm going to follow him because he's in my line of sight.
Yeah, and so yeah, definitely like wilderness is definitely there. Now, are you just going to try to get some guns and use that, or are you like me? And do you think, besides getting guns, that getting some sharp-ass katanas is also a good idea?
Dude, I've already fucking planned on having a motorcycle and katanas and maybe crossbows.
So you're
I
going to
have some guns if I need them.
So you're going to beat Daryl from The Walking Dead?
Yeah, but I plan on being that before fucking Walking Dead came out.
No, I know. It's just funny now that, like, because of all he's done, most things synonymous are just like, oh, you're being like Daryl. It's like, no, it's a normal thing to want to do.
Yes. It's common sense. You stay away from people and you go live in the woods. I want to do that now. I want to stay away from people and live in the woods.
See, that's another key thing. Like, so if you ever see that one guy again, which hopefully you don't, go back and be like, actually, while I've been gone, I've thought of more things. Why would you go to an ammo store in a major city? Plenty of random towns with no people in the middle of nowhere have gun stores.
Yeah, and then you also have to take into account, like, you're not the only dumbass that's going to have that same idea. And guess what? They're going to either shoot you or you're going to shoot them. Somebody's going to die.
And
you can't hold off every guy that has the same idea as you. Eventually,
that's why it's like you almost want to prepare in advance, because obviously then you'd be more prepared, but at least have your idea be different enough to where, like you said, people aren't going to.
Yeah, at least if you go in the wilderness and you run into some other guy that's up there, you go, oh, sorry, dude, I didn't know this was your square mile of land. I'll move over this way.
Right, yeah.
I don't have anything but, like, a pistol, and I don't have a stash of food and stuff.
Please don't shoot me.
Yeah.
Please don't shoot me or eat me.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than a few exceptions, personally, I found that most zombie games don't do a good job of, like, outside of the major ones. Like, obviously, Resident Evil, awesome franchise, except for 6? What was the most recent one that bombed? 6, right?
Because then they started, like, redoing all the old ones.
Yeah, now they're remaking, because Resident Evil 3 remake just came out pretty recently. Yeah, I think it was 6, because I played 3. I've played 3. Now that I think back, I've played 4. I actually really liked 5. The co-op aspect. Yeah, I really like 5.
More of an action game.
Yeah, I also thought they did a really good job with the co-op combat system.
Oh yeah,
making it to where you had to. They made it to a point where yes, it's obviously, like most games, way more fun to play with a friend. But
I think you and I used to play that all the time with Central.
We beat it, yeah.
Yeah, you and I played it, and then I think, do you remember my friend Tommy? I think we played with him a few times too.
Yeah, like they did a really good job with that combat system, and then I was really excited. I actually almost got 6, and then I heard all the stuff that.
Oh yeah, I was excited for 6 to be like more like 5. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be an awesome game, and someone's like, no, they fucking fucked the whole thing up. Okay, I'm not gonna buy it then.
Yeah, no, from what I've read up on stuff with 6, they did not do. I feel like those are really good. The mobile game, I can't remember what it was called. There was like a mobile zombie game that was really popular. You like could make choices, kind of like The Walking Dead, but it's not the Walking Dead game. It was a game very similar in its aspect. And it was made by like not Bad Wolf. Actually, it might have been made by Bad Wolf. I'm not sure why I'm blanking on the name right now. I had it earlier. But Last of Us is probably the more recent example of a really good zombie game. I don't know if you ever...
I never got a chance to play that one. I have it. I think I have it for PS3, but I haven't touched my PS.
It's amazing. So I haven't beaten it, but I probably played through like the first half of the first Last of Us. The second one was
there a real in-depth storyline for it?
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah, I remember my buddy up north telling me about it. I just never got a chance to play.
Yeah, it's really, really good. The second one was going to be coming out in late 2020, but then due to the coronavirus, it's being delayed. I think 5 or 6 months because they can't do like I think they said they did like there's no one to do finishing. There's no one in the studio to do finishing touches, and obviously working on a game that big and with that big of a hype behind it, you don't want people working from home and sending in the work. You want everyone on the floor.
Everybody be able to, like,
yeah.
So, like, if someone fucked up, like, hey, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Instead of, like, waiting for an email and the guy gives it to you at the very last second, and you're like, oh, fuck, the deadline's sad. I can't really bitch about it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't control as much in video game design, obviously, as people working from home. So totally understandable, but it definitely sucks. I know a ton of games have been delayed. Like seeing it, and I'm sure those of you who are listening now haven't probably paying attention to it, but a lot of major games in the last year have been delayed. Cyberpunk, Last of Us. I know there was other ones that got delayed, but these Skull and Bones is a pirate game that's been delayed for a long time that I was really excited about. But just those three, and I know there's been more, and it's really weird. It's actually Final Fantasy VII Remake. I know it's come out now. I haven't played it yet, so I swear if any of you out there message me a spoiler, I will find you and cry.
It's a game you played already.
I know. Well, they put in new missions and stuff. Like,
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm super excited to eventually get it. Slightly off topic. I'm going to be buying the new Streets of Rage 4 came out today for the Switch.
Oh, nice.
So I will be buying that later. So if those of you that are listening,
I didn't know they were still making those.
Yeah, I guess they made it with newer graphics, and then they took the original 4 people, and then so you can play the game with the newer people and new graphics, then you can go back and replay the game with the 4 original people in 16-bit arcade mode.
Oh, that's badass.
So I will be getting that later today, and those of you that are listening to this now, it's either started, I can't see into the future just yet. I'm working on it, but not yet. I will be hopefully potentially streaming Streets of Rage. You just won't see me. You'll just hear me because I don't have a capture card myself. I'm getting one, hopefully, in a couple months, but I don't have one now. Anyhoozle, that game in particular, and we hit this weird wall where certain major games have come out with major backlash. So I know we had played it very briefly and we had our own experience with it, but Fallout 76 is one of the more recent examples of a game that rushed its launch when it should have probably taken a couple steps back before it released. Because I didn't
think it was horrible. I think the main problem is everybody had expectations that were too high.
Yeah, and
unreasonable expectations. Like we've discussed this before. Like some of the things people were bitching about. Like you physically can't do that shit in real life. Like why can't you freeze time in the game? Because you're playing with other people. You can't freeze time on their game. How do you expect them to do that without breaking the laws of physics?
Right, and that would be like with every MMO. Like I just recently was playing and I quit a week ago, but WoW Classic, it's the same with every major MMO. It's not like if you have to run to the bathroom or something, you can just pause the game in the middle of a raid or pause the game in the middle of a boss fight and be like, wait, hold on, I'll be right back. So there were certain things I liked about Fallout 76. There were certain things I didn't. I do think they did a good job of trying to make it more realistic, but then I also think on the negative side of it, people were so used to a certain aspect in Fallout that they changed so much so quick that it was almost...
There's obviously glitches and stuff that they...
Oh yeah, there was a ton. But I think for me, what in my opinion would have been a smart idea, and they've done some stuff with this now, but there's been other backlash. Like I don't know if you heard what they did with the private servers. So there was a lot of backlash obviously for the game. They were trying to appease Bethesda was trying to appease fans and make everyone happy. One of the biggest things that people said they wanted a single player server. Right? They were like, I want the option of playing by myself. People wanted that option. So Bethesda said, all right, sure. If you pay us another $99 to get access
Wait, are you fucking serious? $99?
I don't know if the amount is right, but I do know that the accurate aspect is true that Bethesda said, sure, you can have a single player server if you pay us an additional amount for it first and per month. So you had to pay an upfront fee to get access to a single player server and then pay them a monthly fee to keep on the monthly server.
You know what? I say good for Bethesda for doing that. If you're like, oh, you guys want to bitch about our game? Fuck you then.
Yeah, and so that was not good because the backlash just got worse.
They didn't realize those are the people that are probably bitching because I can't use the VAT system the way I like to.
I think that
I can't interact with every single fucking object in the game, and then they're gonna want a single player server. Probably with all those things that they've been bitching about, and they probably expect to get it for free, not realizing that it's essentially a whole nother fucking game that they're expecting from this company.
Right. It's so it's $12.99. So it's $12.99 for access to single player servers. So it's $12.99 a month or $100 a year. For access to single player server. So what I'll argue against it is there's not enough in that game. If you compare it to every other MMO that is priced almost around the exact same. If you're comparing it by price, which when they go in that price range, you have to, and you're comparing it to World of Warcraft, Star Wars, and all those other games, you know.
You gotta remember, though, they haven't made it yet. So, for all we know, they might actually...
Oh, no, it's been out for a year.
Oh, they have made it?
Yeah, it's not.
I thought you were saying this was like a hypothetical.
Oh no, they did it. It came out. It came out last year. It did not go well because they did not give anyone anything extra. So it was just pay us money per month just to play by yourself. We're not going to give you anything. It's going to be the exact same game. You're just going to be playing by yourself now. And if it was a couple bucks, I could justify it. But when you're talking MMO pricing just to play a single player, that almost gets into like...
You have to think about from this respect then. If it's a single player server, that means every person that wants to play has to have their own server to play on, right?
But the backlash was so huge that they've lost more money than they've gained from people playing it.
Because it has enough stuff that they can come back.
People have been talking about it'd be very nice. It'd be nice to see a sequel to New Vegas, which ironically is one of the only Fallout games I've never played. I tried to play it, but I couldn't get into it. I've heard from a few people that is like the best one. Yeah, I've heard that from people too. And it's weird that it's one of my... I don't know, maybe I'll get it on Steam Summer Sale, which is coming up here in a month or two. I mean, overall, I mean, like I said, like games like that, and then No Man's Sky. So the original point, they're from 20 minutes ago. But Fallout 76 and No Man's Sky are probably the two most recent games that come to my mind that came in with tons of hype. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Add one more to that list. World of Warcraft 3 Reforged launch that happened about 2 months ago. So, I didn't know about that. Yeah, Blizzard... I loved playing this growing up. I know you did as well. But the original World of Warcraft 3 game where you had the single player and then you had all those fun online maps and stuff. You know what? I just remember I noticed something. I noticed that on my whatchamacallit, because I started playing StarCraft last week because I noticed it was free, and I saw something about that. Yeah, it came out, and so I didn't hear about it until the day before it launched, and I actually got so excited I almost bought it that night. And then I said, you know what? I'll wait until a couple days after it comes out, wait for initial bugs to get fixed, but then I'll get it. Within a day, and it is now. So the World of Warcraft 3 relaunch, or Reforged relaunch, now owns the record for the lowest metascored game in gaming history. How low was it? It hit 0.2 within 24 hours, I think. Something like that. It tanked so bad. I don't know if anything's been fixed. So if you're listening to this now, and World of Warcraft 3 Reforged has been fixed and it's amazing now, let me know. I will be more than happy to go back and look. Maybe it is, but I just know that when it initially came out, there was just so many things. But my original point was that, so you have all these games that did situations like that, and then all these major games like Cyberpunk and all those, and they've purposely delayed themselves long periods of time to do fixes and to change things. And you can look at the Sonic movie as another example from a different entertainment standpoint, from going through a drastic rechange. Do you think it's interesting that it seems like we've almost hit this part nerdy fandom that our voices have become so loud that we're actually, for the first time, actually able to make change?
Yeah. I think so, but the problem is, I think it's to the point where people want asinine things change.
Right. Yeah. To a certain point,
I think people are taking advantage of it a little bit.
Right. Yeah. There's obviously there's a danger side to bigger companies making changes to games or movies making drastic changes to movies on people, like you said, people asking for it too much. But it's very interesting because you look at it from a standpoint of when we grew up. The fandoms we were into back then and the stuff that we're into now, unless you had that core group of friends, a lot of stuff wasn't as accepted. I mean, so obviously some stuff still isn't. Stuff, there's always going to be stigmas around certain things. There's just nothing you can do about that. We're definitely seeing a flip side to certain things. Anime's become vastly more mainstream than it ever has before.
Because you can see everything at the drop of a hat easily. Whatever you want to watch, you can find it somewhere. Whereas before, it was hard to find certain animes.
Right, and I think also just from seeing it on myself is a lot of bigger companies and streaming services like Netflix and Hulu are making their own animes. Whereas before it was just, you got your anime from Toonami or whatever that was, and there wasn't a whole a lot to it. And I think you look at it now where when you have bigger corporations purposely making their own animes for that service, it's showing that progression of kind of how things have come. And obviously flip sides to everything, but I think that has led to that area where companies are more willing to, instead of just pushing out a game that's not ready for quick profit, some companies, not all of them, talking to you, EA, dicks, fucking microtransaction dicks, you ruined Battlefront. I will never get over that. I will rant for the next 30 minutes about how you ruined Battlefront. I remember how excited we were for Battlefront when the first when the first one came out, and they ruined it. Fucking ruined it, EA.
There's only one thing that they had to put in there, and they fucking ruined it. I would have let the microtransactions be fine if all they put in was fucking Galactic Conquest. No.
Oh yeah, we didn't get it. We didn't get anything.
You couldn't put the best aspect of Battlefront 2 in your remake of the game.
No, yeah, you bent us over, and you took the old copy of Battlefront and you just shoved it right in there because that's what you did. It's bad when I'm more excited to spend $10 on the Battlefront 2 multiplayer on Steam. That's the only thing you get. You just get the multiplayer. You don't even get to play single player. It's just the multiplayer with other people. There's barely any. I think there's only like 100 people a day that play. I rarely go on it, but I was more happy to spend $10 on that and never play it than even think about giving EA money about. And then they have all this backlash about the first one, and they go, "All right, guys, we hear you. All right, we're gonna come out with a second one and change nothing."
Oh yeah.
So just giant middle finger. But I've heard the new Star Wars game that EA did, though, was really good. That single-player one.
I played through it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I really want to get it and play it.
It's an awesome storyline.
Yeah, eventually I plan on getting it. Very excited to get it. So other than EA, I think we've reached a very interesting point in the culture and the fandom where certain corporations are actually willing to take a hit in profit initially, spend money to fix the game to make a better product. Now, whether or not that makes them more money down the road, are more people going to be willing to buy it? Who knows? Regardless of that, maybe a few people will. Is it enough to make a difference? Probably not. At the end of the day, if you were going to buy the game, you're going to buy the game. You're not suddenly going to buy Cyberpunk. I mean, you should buy Cyberpunk anyway because Keanu Reeves is in it, and if you need another reason to buy a game, I really don't know what it would be.
I mean, fucking Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, it's fucking Keanu Reeves. I mean, what more do you need? I don't know. What more do you need? I don't know. I don't know what more you need, but I don't think you would need anything more than that. But yeah, I don't know. We've reached a very interesting point in video games, and those of you who've listened to a few episodes so far know that I have a 2-year-old. Chuck, I know you have kids as well, and so it's caused a very weird, you have those moments. I'm sure you do as well. I want you to share kind of that experience as well, where we grew up having those memories of playing video games, and now we're on the flip side.
Yeah, and nowadays, I don't know. It seems like video games might be a little too complicated for the kids.
Yeah, I feel like some stuff might be. I know my kid tries playing the Switch and like watching me play Smash and wanting to play and Let's Go Pikachu and stuff, and he gets very kind of like, I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty convinced that my 2-year-old is slowly formulating his plan to kill me, take my place as head of the family, because he watches way too many like horror movies and kills me all the time.
Oh, my son used my face as his feedback the other night and thought it was hilarious. And
Yeah.
he was very surprisingly accurate in doing so.
Yeah.
He landed every single punch.
Yeah, my kids had some moments where it's just like, okay, yeah. And he's gotten the creepy head tilt that like demonic babies do in the movies down like super pat. So we're like, he'll be watching TV and you'll be like, hey Cameron, like look over here, bud, and he'll do like the slow creepy head turn with like the eyes in the corner of his head and slowly turn over. It's so creepy. I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's only a matter of time until you kill me. Other things I'm very proud of. So I've only watched the Phantom Menace with him. So Star Wars episode, okay, it's technically episode 1, but it's obviously 1, 2, and 3 come after 4, 5, and 6. But the Clone Wars trilogy, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Because I played there. My wife was like, why don't you start them off with like the old 3? I'm like, okay, first of all,
I'm watching with the kids. It's the original.
I was like, first of all, he's not going to pay attention to the original because the graphics are not enticing to a 2-year-old. Third of all,
yeah,
or second, third, I don't know, numbers are weird.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if we're watching in sequential order, you have to start with the Clone Wars anyway to see the turn. And so I was like, so he doesn't know he's never, so the person he's seen that he has a figure of is Darth Maul. So he's seen Darth Maul. I've met Darth Maul. That's a fun story. But I've met the actual Darth Maul, like the actual guy who plays Darth Maul, have his autograph on an old original Dark Horse comic. It's not a rare comic. It's really not. But when I was meeting him and was thinking about what I wanted him to sign, because I have a few things of Darth Maul, and there was Funko Pops, the places were selling of Darth Maul. I remember that I had this original 4-pack I bought at a con a long time ago, where the first issue of that 4-pack from Dark Horse, those of you who were listening, Dark Horse is who produced Star Wars comics until Lucas bought the rights to Star Wars comics. But it's the issue 1 of it. It's actually Ray Park, who is the actor who plays Darth Maul, in his getup posing for the cover of this comic. This is my fun little. I've met a lot of people. I don't go to cons anymore. When the kid's older, I plan on going to stuff again because there is certain people I want to meet still. But in general, I've stopped going. Very expensive. Very expensive. Yeah. I just can't really justify the cost anymore. But I've met some really cool people. I have a lot of cool stories to share down the road. That's just kind of your little free tidbit for those of you who are listening. But so even though he's never seen him, except in a comic, the only person he really knows down pat is Darth Vader and then Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, the kids know Darth Vader. They've seen what's the second one of the new movies? And,
is it Super Crap? Is it Super Crap? Because I thought it was called Crap, Super Crap, and Ultra Crap. I thought it was the titles of the new 3.
No, they watched like the last half of the Last Jedi with me. I've watched A New Hope with Logan. They both watched most of The Empire Strikes Back with me. But they, I can tell like there's no attention span with those movies.
Yeah, and I eventually
when I was that age, like I was enthralled by all the Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah, no, same here. And I finally got as a Christmas gift last year because at this point I'm in my 30s now. My parents just like pick one adult thing you want, and I don't have a house yet. So I was
like define adult.
Yeah, and I don't have a house yet to ask for like get me a grill or whatever. So I was like, get me the extended versions of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, nice.
So I have those now. But yeah, no, it's been very fun, and we have a fun tradition where whenever he takes a nap, now that I'm working from home right now, due to the quarantine, when he wakes up, eats milk, and then we watch an episode of Batman. And we watch an episode of the original Justice League, the DC Universe app.
Oh yeah, I watched all those with
which is still, I think, to date one of my That animation was so ahead of its time. Like, if you think about it, that show came out in, early 2000s-ish?
Yeah, something like that.
And that animation would hold up, I would argue, today. Well,
even if you go back to, like, the Batman, the animated series, and the New Adventures of Superman, that animation.
Batman Beyond. So many numerous things. We're getting ready to wrap up here on episode 4 here, everybody. We ran a little bit longer than I was planning to. We could obviously probably talk for the next 5 hours. Things.
Yeah, I'm getting evil looks because I'm still recording right now.
I'll make sure to wrap up. So
I think it's hilarious.
So final things here. I, of course, definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on and be on episode 4 here of the Fandom Effect. Huh?
It's not like I was doing anything else today.
Well, not like most of us can go anywhere anyway and do anything. Final question for you, and then I'm going to give everyone, what as promised, the Fandom Tip of the Week. Hashtag name still being workshopped. So to anyone listening, that's listening out there, biggest piece of advice you could give someone looking into getting into culinary school. One piece of advice.
What, going to culinary school?
Yeah, like they're thinking of going into culinary school, but they're nervous about it. Kind of maybe in your situation where they're being told not to do it. Just one piece of advice for them.
It's more like if you really want to go into the field, go and just find yourself a decent good job somewhere and just grind it out. Like don't obviously go to school while you do it, but emphasize that with your boss. You're not trying to make a living off of it yet, but get that experience, get that base work ethic, and then go to culinary school. That way you have more of a down to earth perspective of what you're doing, as opposed to thinking, oh, I've got my culinary degree now, I should be able to run a kitchen easy.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and for everyone out there, make sure you pay attention to this. I know, you don't have some of your stuff up and running yet. So for everyone wondering why I'm not posting links to specific things, it's because the current guest doesn't have a lot of social media links for us to plug. But I will make it a point to stress on descriptions when this episode comes out that for any of you that have questions about the culinary school or getting into the field or different things you should look out for, message me, message the Fandom Effect. I will pass the messages along, get answers for you. Can definitely promise I will do that for you guys. So to wrap up here, everybody, as promised, your Fandom Tip of the Week your Fandom Tip of the episode for episode 4 feels pretty justifiable. It's going to be a super amazing website. If you grew up on old school cartoons or shows like the original, like when Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball Z were first coming out, and various things like that, there is a streaming website called ToonamiAftermath.com that is a 24/7 streaming website that streams all the old school movies and TV shows from the original Toonami run from back in the day. There's a chat, you can talk to other people as the show's going on, so Zoids, Big O, Inuyasha, all these old school animes and movies, riff tracks, Mr. Science, the original Mr. Science Theater 3000, all these things, all on this website. So this won't be on Facebook. So those of you who are, I'm not going to post it on Facebook because then you'll be like, oh, that's the tip. So I'm going to save it for the YouTube and stuff. Just post it in those descriptions. But that is your Fandom Tip of this episode. To definitely check out that website if you grew up on those those animes, those cartoons, and you're fans of that stuff. It's a really amazing website. The guys do an amazing job running it. So once again, obviously, thank you to our guest for episode 4, Chuck. I'm sure we'll probably have you on again at some point. To everyone out there, as always, keep doing what you're doing. Keep getting into your different fandoms. Always keep exploring new ones. You can always reach out to me. Any questions, always make sure to follow everything at the Facebook, the YouTube, the SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts is coming soon. So I hope you're having a great day, everyone. Keep good, all right? Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Fandom Effect. Please make sure to follow me on all available platforms, Facebook, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. And if you or yourself or knows anyone that's perhaps interested in being a guest on the Fandom Effect, please feel free to let me know, and I would love to talk to you guys. So I will see you guys on the very next episode of the Fandom Effect.